Everybody say hello.
Hi.
Say hello, Professor Rainford. Thank you for coming. I want to talk to you today about what I consider a day well spent. A day set in my favorite season, autumn, in one of my favorite places, a farm, maybe a pumpkin farm, not unlike our local Kelly's apple farm. Somewhere where you can walk in and know you're going to get a great cup of coffee and a fresh made donut. You've all been there, and so you know. You walk in, and the fragrance of freshly ground coffee beans dances through the air like a rhythmic gymnast. The aromatic ribbon flitters past your nose. When I'm there, I order a tall pumpkin spice latte with a dollop of whipped cream. I'm sure no one's surprised. I look down in that big cup, and I see flecks of nutmeg and cinnamon, and it's so tempting to take a big sip. But first, a few cooling breaths into the tiny slit in the stark white paper cup. Then I purse my lips and take a hesitant first sip. The magical elixir slides over my taste buds with an explosion of responses. Bitter, sweet, earthy, spicy. The last to register, always, is hot. I grimace and rub my tongue against the roof of my mouth, simultaneously consoling it and spreading the flavor further around my palate. My shoulders drop in relaxation, and my heart rate returns to a basic trot. I feel the familiar rush of endorphins envelop me like warm bath water at the end of a long, grueling day. Then what happens every time I go is what happens this time as well. Immediately, I'm second-guessing my decision to just get a coffee. I peek over the counter, and I can see the baker, a hunchback elderly man, not a day less than 70, but deceptively well preserved. His powder white hair, a perfect match for the flowers suspended in the air around him. His seasoned face in deep concentration, the tip of his tongue held hostage between his two lips, and his eyes glued to the task before him. You ever watched someone make donuts? I hadn't really until that day. I watched him with one hand grab some dough, and with the crooked fingers of the other hand, split the gooey clump into two. Slowly at first, coaxing the two sections apart, and then in one swift motion, he twists them back together. With an expert hand, he tosses the pastry halo up into a vat of temperamental scalding oil. And with the agility of a man half his age, he dodges the tiny scorching projectiles. Left and right, he squirms as if dancing to some new wave music. A smirk in my direction tells me that he's discovered me watching. He motions to a metal drying rack with recently dipped rings of chocolate goodness, each one dripping slowly onto the parchment paper beneath it, creating an abstract painting of chocolate deliciousness. I nod my head vigorously and hold up 6 fingers, my thumb desperately wanting to re-grip the cup, the other 5 fingers willing it to stay outstretched to be sure that I get a full half dozen. He carefully loads each little cake into a waxy bag, crumples up the top, and crosses over to the cashier at a leisurely pace, all the while his feet shuffling and kicking up confectioner's dust as he moves along. After paying, I make my way to the door. My new sneakers giving a little squeak every time I step, but I don't even care. Each shrill little sound is an alarm to people that I'm fast approaching. I shift my weight back and pull the surprisingly heavy door toward me. I feel a dull ache in my shoulder as the door defiantly stays put. I notice a small wooden sign dangling a few inches below the handle, swaying back and forth from its tattered rope as if to taunt me with its message. Push, don't pull. A bit embarrassed, I try again. This time I heave my weight against the door, hard enough to win the battle, but with just enough grace to be sure I don't spill any coffee. The old door moans when it opens, like a dog being forced to move from the comfiest spot on the couch. I hear a little bell ringing overhead to herald my exit. The wind on the other side of the door is whooshing by. It's taking with it anything untethered by nature or man, like a thief in broad daylight. Outside, the air is abundant with change. Plum purple, flame red, and golden leaves go flying by, out of control. I'm reminded every autumn how indefensible I am against its magnetic pull. This season is a thick, warm blanket just out of the dryer, still emanating heat like a recently extinguished campfire. I lean my head back and close my eyes. The sun is pressed against my face with the warmth of a million kisses. I can feel my skin begin to flush bright red. Those of you that know me know that my love of coffee and chocolate is rivaled by my love of pumpkins and everything Halloween. At the farm, as far as the eye can see, rows and rows of pumpkins stand at the ready. An army of orange soldiers, some improbably lean, others colossal and squat, an entire squadron of misshapen squash. I hear the familiar squeals of two little boys, fast approaching. I can feel their tiny vibrations on the ground as they barrel toward me. I turn to see a cloud of dirt following, close on their tails. Brothers, nearly the same height, despite their 3-year age difference, each one with a death grip on a pumpkin that they claimed as their own. I motion cup in hand for them to follow me. They fall in line behind me, like little ducklings in a row. They follow behind their mama, who follows behind their papa, as we amble to the car. Everyone clambers in and sinks into their seats. A series of clicks confirms that we're all safely restrained. I gaze out the window and allow my thoughts to drift. In my mind, I open the book of my life to the chapter of 40. And I think, what a splendid way to start your birthday. Thank you for coming and for listening. And would anyone like to share what their perfect day or their perfect birthday is?